Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today's guest is Dr. Arvind Gupta, and he is the founder over at Digital India Foundation. Arvind, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Adam.
All right, so Arvind, so this interview, as our audience has been listening to for quite some time, is part of the FII Priority Summit series that we've been doing for the conference. I'll tell you, this was my first time attending an event. I went to the Miami event and I was just completely blown away. I mean, the people I met, obviously the sessions, the networking, like all around, it was just a great experience. Arvind, was this year, have you been to, I know you were at the Miami one. How long have you been, or I should say, how were you introduced to the FII Institute and how did you start getting involved?
So, Adam, first of all, I kind of not only agree, but I concur more than 100% with you on the quality of people that attended the Miami event. The selection was superb, the curation was superb, the topics were amazing. And I think, to me, frankly, FII summits now present probably it is the go-to summit right now. If you want to be at the intersection of technology,
Hmm.
startups, and venture capital, and what's going to shape the future of humankind. And to answer your real question, I this was my second FII. I attended
Mm.
the big one in Riyadh last year, in October last year, and I've been ever so impressed. And I've been attending summits for the last 35 years of my life, and
Mm.
last 5 years, which are at the intersection of venture capital, futurist thinking, technology, policy. But probably FII stands out in the top two or three summits I would like to attend at any point in time annually.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that because I attend a lot of conferences too. I cover a lot of conferences nationally, internationally. So I do a lot of this, but this did stick out to me. What do you think makes it so special? Like, what do you think makes it unique?
Yeah, I think that is the convening power of the FII, which is not diluted, number one. Two,
Mm.
it is backed by a lot of actual action. So
Yeah.
let me explain that. If you meet technology companies, if you meet nation states, here there is the national wealth funds of many countries also putting money into these ventures. There
Hmm.
is money, there is talent, there is futuristic thinking, there is policy, and that's highly curated. You don't have the riffraff, you don't have people selling services to you or selling products to you. People are at peer level discussing what is correct, what is appropriate. And of course, the networking then becomes very, very appropriate and very correct. And so
Mm.
to me, it was a meeting of the minds of the like minded folks. And it is something that either you're there because of your talent, your merit,
Hmm.
or your ability to understand and then invest in that future. So it makes a very, very good audience and a very good set of peer group that you want to meet with.
Let's switch it up a bit, Arvind. I want to learn a little bit more about what you're doing over at Digital India Foundation. I see you're the founder. Maybe tell us a little bit more about the organization.
Adam, we are a policy think tank, but via this policy think tank, we participate in, at the India's National Fund of Fund
Hmm.
scheme, which is like a fund of fund which invests in all domestic capital in India, which further then invests. So I'm one of the board members of the National Fund of Fund schemes, which invests in the venture capital funds that operate in India and then are further investing in startups and innovators and growth
Mm.
companies, new age growth companies. So we also look at policy to help the startups, help the technology space looking at. So we wear all the three hats.
Hmm.
The funding hat as a board seat, as a then two policy angles for which enable the industry, which ensure that is responsible technology, and
Hmm.
three, we also are on the boards of we represent the boards at which are building technology of the future. We are building what is in India we call digital public infrastructure. So,
Mm.
me and my team are really the catalyst, as we like to see, for the
Hmm.
digital ecosystem in India, providing the technical platforms, the policy inputs, as well as
Mm.
the financial capital required to enable the ecosystem.
Yeah. Can you maybe give for the audience that is listening to this that maybe is not quite so familiar with the ecosystem of tech in India and startups, maybe can you give us a little bit of an overview? Because you have a unique vantage point, especially from the fund to fund angles and really looking and curating funds and investments that you like to participate in. So can you give us a little bit of what you see?
That's an excellent question, Adam. Let me explain.
Mm-hmm.
India launched a Startup India movement 9 years ago on the
Mm-hmm.
16th of January 2016 by the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. That time, India had a 400 or so startups in India.
Mm.
And his call was that we need to build the nation makers, the nation builders of the future, people who will become job givers and not job seekers. And
Mm-hmm.
people and the government should then enable the ecosystem, which basically provides, better access to markets, both government and otherwise, to provide capital to the industry, to the startups, and three provides mentorship and support throughout. So this was the starting of the ecosystem. So what
Mm.
did we do? Today, about 9 years later, we have 160,000 startups. We have perhaps the highest number of growth in startups over the
How many
last nine
words was
years.
the original again, though? You said like 400. Did I get that
400,
right? Okay, 400 to what?
400 to 160,000 startups in nine
The
years.
math on that's outstanding. Go ahead, please.
And then to enable that is what we, what as the Prime Minister said, we all work as the ecosystem to do. We have ensured the capital, which is something I explained through the fund of funds. We also build what is called digital public infrastructure, Adam, which is
Mm-hmm.
very unlike anywhere else in the world. This is common foundational infrastructure that is available to the government, to startups, to large companies, small companies, to be available at no rent seeking. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, the dollar went a long way in building startups, payments, identity, KYC. There are a lot of e-commerce DPIs which are available to people at large, to startups at large. So, it basically spurned a startup movement in India. We have equivalent of multiple Silicon Valleys operating in India suddenly. And 9 years later, we have, about 50% of the startups are operating in small tier two, tier three towns. About
Mm-hmm.
48% of them are women led. So
Wow.
this has been a transformational thing for India, and these are the kind of experiences how this happened that we are able to share at a global stage using summits like FII that
Mm-hmm.
not only we learn from, but we also are able to help and give back to the global community of peers, as I explained.
Mm. So what's next for the fund? What's next for Digital India Foundation? Like we're 2025, we're in April. What kind of things, trends and or things are you following now?
Well, that's another excellent futuristic thing. Number one, with the success of the Fund of Funds 1.0, you always, in the technology industry, you're not done till the time you do 2.0 and 3.0 and 4.0 and so
Yeah.
on. So we are on 2.0. And in 2.0, what we are doing both for the Startup India movement, and I'll explain to you, and for the Fund of Funds, we are number one going to now, we have solved, as we believe, India is a very large country. And
Yeah.
in a large country, I always say we live in an and world, which means we have to do so many things. In 160,000 startups, we're not satisfied yet.
Mm-hmm.
We now need to also build. We have about 4 or 5,000 deep tech startups. What we
Mm.
also aim in the Startup India 2.0 and Fund of Fund 2.0 is to now take this 4 or 5,000 deep tech startups to 100,000 startups
Mm-hmm.
for deep tech, which will be the largest anywhere in the world. So, if you ask me, that's where we are headed. We will
Mm.
continue to build on the success of Startup India 1.0, which is consumer tech, fintech, health tech, agri tech, all
Mm-hmm.
the things we have done. But we want to now solve for certain deeper challenges, societal challenges, and that is deep tech. The world looks up to democracy like India to not only just provide talent, but also to
Yeah.
solve certain hard problems.
Yeah.
And that's really what the vision is.
That's great. What are some of the what are obviously there's going to be many, but in any, and from that standpoint of going from let me not get the numbers a little off, but maybe let's say 400 plus startups to, over 200,000, like what were some of the challenges along the way to scaling that? And the reason I asked that question, by the way, is because I feel like if I was a fly on the wall listening to some of your conversations at FII, like that's probably what some other individuals wanted to know so that they could then, take some of that learning to implement either in their countries or companies or funds, like or otherwise. So what are some of the maybe learning lessons that you learned along the way in terms of that scaling of startups?
See, again, it's a very important learning to share. Number one, we had to believe in ourselves. So we put our
Mm,
own money. India is still runs a hugely deficit budget, and to put, allocate a significant amount of money to that
yeah.
that whole ecosystem was a significant move. But two, Adam, we opened up the procurement of the government, which is
Mm.
in anywhere in any country is one of the highest procurer of all things. We
Yeah.
opened it up in a preferential manner to the startups, and that actually gave the confidence to the ecosystem, to other industries, to large corporates that see, hey, these are startups selling to the government. Their
Mm.
reference is the government. And so they started procuring, so that increased their market. They could then not only sell domestically but go overseas and say, we have government of India as a client, as a customer. So, and three, to the funds, when they were backed up by a sovereign national fund, they could go back and say, hey, the government of India has funded us. So they could
Mm.
raise more capital. To give you a perspective, if we put about $2 billion of government money into about 150 venture capital funds,
Mm-hmm.
they went ahead and raised almost 6x of the same
Mm.
themselves. So that is the kind of successes, the processes. But there were challenges.
Yeah.
Challenges have been to change the mindset of
Mm.
youngsters that while job markets is important, you need to go out there, go do a job, is to also then become an entrepreneur. It's okay to fail,
Yeah.
and to set up a culture that failure is okay. In fact, I mean,
That's not
the,
easy. That's not
and
easy to
that's not
change
easy. So
a culture like an ancient culture. That is not easy.
yeah, so those have been the challenges, and to tell people that failure is okay, fail soon, fail early, so that you
Yeah.
can start building second round of startups, third round of startups. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Also to motivate the successful entrepreneurs from the first round of the first wave of startups, if I can call them, to
Yeah.
now mentor and provide money to the next wave, has been something that we have worked very hard on. And that has been a learning that you need to create these role models so that they inspire the others. So overall, it's an interesting story, but this story is not written yet. It's not the end
Mm-hmm.
of it. It's still going on. As I said, we've just finished one chapter of the story. We're now on to the second chapter.
Man. Or who knows? You might just be done with the preface. Now you're going into the introduction. I feel like it's just beginning, right?
Just starting out there. It's very exciting times.
Yeah, very exciting. Well, Arvind, I'll tell you, man, this has been great having you on the show today and learning a little bit more about, your participation in FII, of course, but then also all the great work that you're doing as well. If people want to follow along with the journey and if they want to connect either with yourself or with your team or learn more about Digital India Foundation, how do they do that?
I'm pretty active on Twitter. Look me up at the rate Buzz in Delhi. That's Buzz in Delhi. That's Buzz in Delhi. That's me, Dr. Arvind Gupta. And
Mhm.
digitalindiafoundation.org is the website. Just the name, digitalindiafoundation.org. So look us up, connect with us, and we're happy to share our experiences, talk to you, tell
Mhm.
you what we could have done better or what we intend to do in the future. So thank you for the shootout, Adam.
Thank you. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put the links in the show notes so you can just click on them and head right on over and check out Arvin. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So, again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Arvin, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us, Adam.